For anyone who's new, I'm Alicia. My pronouns are she and her. And I'm joining you from the native lands of the Tunaha, Spokane, and Shushuamps tribes, now known as Spokane, Washington. So today's class will be a gentle mat with props. So I have Pirette. You can let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Welcome. Hey Judith, yes, it would be better. There will be less fees on the back end of any donations if they are done after the live event and on my Insight Timer page. Thanks for bringing that up. And I have a mat, I have a bolster, 2 blocks, and a strap, as well as 2 blankets. Hey Barbara, welcome. I'm trying to record this class for later, Barbara, just FYI in case you want to come back to it. Hi Suzanne. It's good to see we have some regulars and we have some new people. Great, thanks for being here. So I thought we could start this one lying down. Also feel free in the chat to let me know if there's anything specific that you want to cover. This class will be primarily grounding positions. We won't come above tall knees. So if there's any specific part of the body you want to try to cover, let me know. But let's go ahead and start this one lying down. So you might like to take one of your folded blankets under your head for a pillow. And let's also have our strap nearby so that we can reach it without having to get back up again. So take your time coming onto your back. I like to keep my knees bent and my feet flat on the floor. I have some issues going on in my low back, and this feels more comfortable for me. And I also have my feet about as wide as the mat. So you can try some of these things, see what works best for you. You can press down into the feet, lift your hips just enough that you can smooth the flesh of the hips towards the heels, and then lower back down. That might give you some additional length in the low back. And you can also take your fingertips to the head, lift the head just a bit, tuck the chin, and lower the head back down. And if you haven't practiced with me before, I like to remind you to keep in mind this is completely your practice. Think of anything that I'm going to offer as invitations. And then please feel empowered to tune into your own bodily wisdom, your own inner teacher, and let those be your primary guides for our time together. And in a moment, I'm going to invite the bell that will drop us into the centering portion of the practice. And from there, we'll transition to some gentle mat-based movements. We'll finish up with some breath work and some integration and relaxation time. You can also let your knees fall in towards each other so you can take a little bit more of the gripping out of this position. You're welcome to soften the gaze with the eyes still open, or you might choose to close the eyes down completely. And I'll invite the bell to drop us in. As we're all getting settled into our own spaces, let's pause and acknowledge that the tradition of yoga originated thousands of years ago in ancient India. And let's go ahead and shift our awareness into the back body. Feeling all the places that we're in contact with the floor or any props. What does it feel like to have that firmness and solidity beneath you? And noticing the different sensations throughout the body. You might feel changes in temperature or different textures against the skin. And if you choose, you can also bring your hands to some part of the torso, your belly or chest, leaving the backs of the upper arms on the floor and the elbows on the floor. And so that might mean just the fingertips are coming to the torso somewhere. But propping your arms in a way that they can still be relaxed, but that you can start to tune into your natural breath. Feeling how the chest and or belly is moving. And notice how each inhale tends to be an expansion, maybe even a lengthening of the spine. And how the exhale tends to be more of a softening and a settling. And allow your breath to find its own natural rhythm. You don't need to change it in any particular way. See if you can let go of the urge to change it. What do you notice about the depth of your breath? Might be somewhere from shallow to deep. What do you notice about the pace? Somewhere from fast to slow. And how about its texture? Somewhere from rough to smooth. And see if you can let go of any judgment around what you're noticing. Think of it more as all neutral information. One thing isn't any better than another. Imagine that you're simply settling back and observing whatever's true for you in this moment, without having to label it as good or bad. And as you're quieting the body and the mind, are there any thoughts or emotions that are arising for you? And same thing here. Whatever you're noticing, approach it as neutral information. And I'm going to bring in a reading from Kelly Nicole Palmer's book, Manifest. I thought this could come in handy. We're coming into the holidays. This might be pertinent. Also, let's try to apply it starting with our practice today. And the title of this piece is, I am able to say no. I am clear about my boundaries. They are a way of creating space for my peace, joy, and liberation. I have the right to say no. I might even have been taught as a child that my no will not be honored. I am breaking that pattern. The word no is a complete sentence that does not require an explanation or justification. Learning to say no is honoring my needs, time, and resources. When I say yes, without considering my inner compass, I am upholding a story that my agency and consent do not matter. I am devaluing myself. I am making a practice of saying no. So what might that mean just for our time together today? I might offer something that maybe feels like a no to you today. So if that's the case, what else might be a yes? Whenever you're feeling ready, you can open the eyes if they were closed, or lift the gaze, and visually reorient to the space around you. I like to start here by letting my head fall side to side, get some movement into the neck, but it also allows me to look around my space. And we can continue to move down the spine if you'd like. You could try grasping opposite elbows and then letting the arms fall side to side. You could be going in the same direction as your head, or you could stop the movement of the head and just do the arms. Get creative and be open to exploring what feels best in your body in this moment. I'm going to try taking my head and arms opposite of each other. Sometimes that feels nice for me. It just depends on the day. And then lastly, you can start to bring in the knees if you'd like. Letting both knees fall side to side. You could let go of moving the head and the arms and just do the knees, or maybe you do some combination of two or all of them. It's really open to what you like and what feels like a yes right now. And once you're feeling complete with that, let's meet on back at center. Let's go ahead and grab our strap and open it up. Depending on the length of your strap, you might open it up all the way, or you could even fold it in half. I have a 10-foot strap, so I think I might fold it in half to start and see if that's wide enough. And let's grip our strap in gentle hands. And let's start with our hands about shoulder width apart, laying the strap across our waist. With the next inhale, let's bring the arms up and keeping the grip on the strap nice and loose so that your hands can slide along the strap as needed. And then bring the strap overhead any amount. It's okay if your hands don't touch down, just come as far as feels comfortable. Let's inhale it back up and exhale it back down, resting across the hips. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower overhead. Inhale to lift back up, and exhale to lower on the hips. Now you can keep this rhythm if it feels okay, or you could also play with inhaling on the entire lift and exhaling as you bring it back towards the hips. And also keep in mind if linking the movement and the breath together isn't feeling right for you, let that go. It's okay to say no and then find what feels like a yes. And take your hands as wide as you need to accommodate your shoulders. If you have a shorter strap rather, you can always let go of one end of the strap if your arms need to go wider than the strap you have. Let's do one more of these wherever you're at. Let's lower that down. Let's bring the backs of the arms, the upper arms and the elbows to the floor with the wrists up, and then let's roll the wrists one direction, other direction. Let's do some gentle flicks of the fingers. Wiggle the fingers. Open and close the hands. And shake all that out. Let's go ahead and root down through the left leg and foot with the knee still bent. And let's take the strap around the ball of the right foot. You can split the strap so you have one end in each hand. And then let's explore that right ankle. And don't worry if your leg is not straight. But you can work on rolling the ankle, rocking it side to side, wiggling the toes, just whatever feels interesting. How do you want to explore the sensations in this right ankle? And also noticing how when you move the foot and the ankle, how that changes the sensations in the back of that right leg. Let's switch both ends of the strap to the right hand. And then let that right leg fall out towards the right any amount. You might keep the left hand on the left hip, reminding that left hip to stay grounded. And then you're only opening the right leg as much as feels comfortable, and that you can keep both hips on the floor. Keep the breath moving. Check in with the lips and jaw and tongue. Soften there. Sometimes you might notice if you're holding your breath or you're really gripping the jaw or the inside of the mouth, you might be trying too hard. You could back off a little bit. Let's bring the right leg back up through center. Switch both sides of the strap to the left hand, and then allow the right leg to cross the midline towards the left any amount. Full breaths. Let's bring the right leg back through center. Let's switch the strap back to the right hand, and then let's bend the right knee, bringing the right knee any amount in towards your torso, but also towards the floor. So I have an abundant belly. I'm taking my right knee a little bit more out to the right, so it comes towards the right side of my torso rather than smashing into my belly and causing uncomfortable compression. But my knee is nowhere near the floor here. It's just in that direction. So taking the right knee a little bit right of the torso so there's room. And let's lengthen that right leg back up. Split the strap one side in each hand. Press out through the heel, and then let's lower the right leg slowly, slowly all the way through to the floor, pressing out through the heel the entire time. Even once your leg touches down, still keeping that right foot flexed. Let's take 3 full breaths here. Gentle pressure out through the right heel. Then let's release the strap, bend the right knee, bring the right foot to the floor. So we'll root down through the right leg and foot this time, and take the strap to the ball of the left foot. Extending the left leg, and then let's explore the left ankle. What feels interesting on this side? And keep in mind you might need something very different on this side. So honor this side all on its own. What feels like a no on this side? What feels like a yes? Whenever you're ready, take both sides of the strap into the left hand, right hand to the right hip, letting the left leg fall out to the left any amount. Keeping that right hip grounded. And keeping the breath flowing. Let's bring the left leg back up through center. Switch both sides of the strap into the right hand. And then let the left leg cross the midline towards the right any amount. Coming back through center. Let's switch the strap both sides back into the left hand. And then let's bend the left knee. Taking the leg wide as you're bringing it in. Knee towards the floor any amount. You can also take your right hand and smooth the flesh of the belly towards the center. That might also help free up some space for that inner left thigh. Let's extend the left leg again. Split the strap one side into each hand. Press up through the left heel. And then lower that left heel towards the floor. Taking it slow, pressing out through the heel all the way down. Even once that heel touches down, still pressing out through the heel. You might feel a little stretch in the front of your left thigh and left hip. Let's take 3 full breaths here. After your third exhale, you can release the strap. And let's make our way onto one side, where you can use your arms to press yourself back up. And let's go ahead and grab our bolster and our blocks. And you may also need your blankets. We'll have to see what you prefer here. We'll use the bolster to sit up on. So I'm going to sit cross-legged. That may or may not work for you. If you'd rather have your legs extended out front, that's where you could take one of your extra blankets and roll it up so you have a little cylinder, and then you can take that under the backs of your knees. Because if you're sitting up on height and you take your legs long, the backs of your knees probably won't feel supported and you'll kind of feel like you're hyperextending there. So if you are taking your legs long and you're up on the bolster, add some support under the backs of your knees. And let's also take the skin out and back from each hip so that we can feel the sitting bones more fully on the bolster. And then see if you can sit towards the front of your bolster so that your knees are lower than your hips. Oftentimes that can help you feel like you can lengthen your spine. And let's have one block on either side of us. We'll use those in a moment. But let's go ahead and sit up tall, feeling the sitting bones all the way up through the top of the head with a long spine. Let the shoulders soften down. Actually, let's even take the shoulders forward up towards the ears and then let the shoulders soften back and down. So let's inhale here as we're lengthening up. And on your next exhale, let's tuck the chin first towards the throat. And then you can roll the chin any amount more in the direction of the chest. Next inhale, let's take the right ear towards the right shoulder. And exhale, roll the chin back towards the chest. Next inhale, roll the left ear towards the left shoulder. And then find your own pace from here. An option is to let your breath be the guide and then match the pace of your movement to the natural pace of your breath. Next time you have the right ear towards the right shoulder, option to extend the left arm. And then explore that left arm, wrist and hand, elbow, same as we did when we were exploring the ankle. Experimenting with all the different movements that arm, and hand and wrist can make. And notice how it changes the sensation in the side of the neck, and the shoulder, down the arm. Let's rotate that arm so the palm is facing back, bend at the elbow. Take the back of the left hand towards the small of the back. Let that left shoulder soften down. And let's take 3 full breaths here. After your third exhale, whenever it comes, release that left arm, shake it out. Exhale the chin towards the chest. And inhale the left ear towards the left shoulder. And then option to extend the right arm and explore the right arm, wrist and hand. Maybe a completely different experience on this side. So what now is feeling like a no? What's feeling like a yes? And let's rotate the arm so the right palm is facing back, bend at the right elbow, taking the right hand to the small of the back and letting the right shoulder settle in. And let's take 3 full breaths on this side. Releasing the right arm after your 3rd exhale, shaking it out. Exhaling the chin back towards the chest, and then rolling back up to center. If you are sitting cross-legged and you haven't already, you might switch the cross of your legs. And let's make some circles with the torso. We can also link up the movement to the breath here if you choose. You could try inhaling as you come back, exhaling as you come forward. And I also do this movement in the chair a lot for when we do chair class. And for some reason, I'm always kind of surprised at how different it feels when I'm sitting on my bolster. So if you practice in the chair class with me too, maybe you're noticing something about that. I'm noticing for me that means I'm not coming back as far. And I tend to come forward more when I'm sitting up on the bolster. Next time you come through center, let's reverse and go the opposite direction. And whenever you feel even both ways, coming back through center again. Let's go ahead and take the legs long if you haven't been already. And you can opt to stay up on your bolster if you choose. Maybe you would rather come down to a little bit less height and sit up on a blanket or two. But just keep in mind supporting the backs of your knees if you have that large gap under there. And let's start with our blocks on the medium height. If you're new to working with blocks, this is the low height, this is the medium height, and the high height. So since I'm sitting up on the bolster, I'm going to start on medium. If you're sitting lower, you may want to start on the lower height. And then have your blocks where you can reach each fingertip out there. And we're going to go ahead and work with some side bends here. So let's take the left fingertips or the hand to the left block. Lift the right arm, reach up through those right fingertips, and then lean any amount towards the left. So if there's a natural bend in your arm, your left arm, that may mean you could dial your block down. You also can remove the block if you choose. But think about a long line from the right hip out through the right fingertips while still keeping that right shoulder somewhat soft. Let's come back up on an inhale. Lower the right hand down to the block on the right side. Lift up through the left fingertips, lengthening from the left hip out through the left fingertips, and then leaning towards the right. dialing your blocks up or down or removing them depending on your preference. Let's inhale up, and then let's keep flowing side to side. Exhaling as you lean towards the side. You can always play with letting that top arm drape over your head. But let's focus on lengthening on the inhale and then getting a stretch into the top side of the body on an exhale. Let's take it once more to each side. Coming back through center. Let's take a pause here and check in and notice how you're feeling. Notice this new seated position and how it changes what your base is. So feeling the backs of your legs, your heels, your bum. Observe your breath. Notice some of its different qualities. And also checking in with the thoughts and emotions. What are you noticing there? There's no right or wrong. Whatever you're noticing, think of it as neutral information the best you can. Letting go of some of the judgment. And then when you're ready, let's go ahead and you might want to remove the blanket for now. Let's bring the left heel in towards the bolster. And actually, maybe you remove it, but you could use it in a different way. You could always prop that blanket underneath the left knee. And then pull the right leg in any amount. Take the left hand, smooth the belly towards the center. And then you can take and grip your right hand around the right knee. Let's lengthen the spine on the inhale. And then on the exhale, let's do an open twist, any amount towards the left. So you have that block still there. You can use that block for support under the left hand. So you're lengthening the spine on an inhale and twisting on the exhale. If your left arm naturally, your right arm naturally comes inside the right knee, you can use that. Or you might just keep the twist nice and loose. Let's take 3 full breaths here. And letting the twist open naturally. See if you can avoid the urge to over twist. After your third exhale, let's come back through center. And we'll bring the left foot to the floor this time, opening out the right knee, maybe taking that blanket under the right knee to prop it. This all depends on how much height you're sitting up on or not. Take the right hand, smooth the belly, or even the flesh of the chest towards the center. Take the right hand to the block on any height. Let's inhale here as we're lengthening the spine, softening the shoulders. And then on the exhale, twisting any amount, taking your time, twisting towards the right. Again, you might need something different on either side. So seeing where you're at here. Left arm could be on the outside of the left knee and thigh. It could come to the inside. And let's do 3 breaths on this side. After your 3rd exhale, unwinding back to center. Let's remove that blanket. Bring the soles of the feet together. They can be any distance in from the hips. The closer they are in, it might mean your knees are up higher. It might also mean you're rounding your low back. So adjust your feet out so that you feel like you can have a nice long spine. If the knees are hovering like this, you could take your blocks, prop them under the knees or some portion of the thighs, and come forward on your bolster enough that you can have that spine long. If you feel like you're rounding back, come a little more forward on your bolster so you can sit up as tall as possible. Let's inhale here, lengthening the spine, softening the shoulders. And then on your next exhale, hinging from the hips. So let's keep the spine long and the chest open rather than hunching down. Keeping everything open, and then let the movement forward come from the hips. Keeping the spine long the entire time. And then if any more space is going to open up, it will come from the breath and being patient. Lengthening and expanding with each inhale, and then settling on each exhale. Bringing the hands anywhere they're comfortable. Let's do 3 more full breaths here. After your 3rd exhale, engaging through the belly, also using the support of the hands to slowly walk yourself back up. You can set the blocks off to the side. Keep them close because you might want them here in a moment. Same thing with the bolster. We're going to make our way to tabletop, to hands and knees, and I'll give you an option here if you'd like to do a wrist free. You can set your strap off to the side. Let's take at least 1 blanket for padding under the knees. If you'd like an extra luxurious padding under the knees, add a 2nd blanket. I also like to use blocks under my hands here. And I have cork blocks, so they're pretty heavy, and they feel sturdy on the medium height. If your blocks maybe feel more sturdy on the low height, go ahead and try that. Couple other options here. If you want to go wrist free, you can come to forearms on your blocks. So either way, we're going to roughly want to stack our hips over our knees and our shoulders over our elbows. Or if you're on your hands, you'd also have your wrist under the elbows and the shoulders. So you can come to forearms on blocks if you prefer, or you can also come to forearms on your bolster. So lots of things to play with here, depending on what you need for your wrists. And when I'm up on the medium height, I like to kind of wrap my fingers around the edges of the blocks. So I have my blocks about shoulder distance. And let's start by rocking some forward and back. Bringing the hips towards the heels and then coming up. You can exhale as you're taking the hips back. Inhale as you come up. Find a pace that feels pleasing for you. And then you can even take it a little bit to one side and then center. And then you can take it a little bit towards the other side. So popping the left hip out a little bit, sinking back, coming back up, sinking the hips back towards center, coming back up, and then sinking the hips towards the right, coming back up and through center. Let's go through that one more time each side. Left, center, right. And it'll look slightly different if you're down on forearms. Your hips won't come back as far. That's okay. And if you're also down on your forearms, you might want to take your knees a little bit wider. Make space for your belly. Let's come back through center, all of us, whether you're on forearms or hands. With your next inhale, let's drop the belly towards the floor. The chest can lift slightly. The gaze comes up slightly, whatever's feeling okay for your neck. And then on the exhale, now we press up through the belly, rounding the back and tucking the chin. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest and the gaze. And exhale, rounding the back, pressing up through the belly. So I'm going to do a few down on forearms just to show that will look slightly different. I do like to have my knees a little wider when I'm on forearms. It makes room for my belly. But the movement is just a little more compressed when you're on the forearms. And that's perfectly fine. Follow the pace of your own natural breath. And then whether you're on forearms or hands, let's all take our knees a little bit wider, sitting the bum back any amount towards the heels. And then let's take the arms long out front. You could still have your hands on blocks if you choose. You could also bring your hands to the mat, but really making space for the belly. You can even take the hands and smooth the belly towards the center, and then lengthening from the hips all the way out through the fingertips. Let's do 6 full breaths here. After your 6th exhale, whenever it comes, let's make our way back up, and we're ready to set up for our Shavasana. So you can take that any way you like. I'm going to take mine on my back, so I'm going to bring in my blanket pillow again, and also my bolster. And I also like to bring in my extra blanket on top of me for some warmth and a little bit of weight. So you could take your bolster and you could put it under the backs of your legs. if you like. For me, it's often uncomfortable to just lay flat on the floor with nothing supporting my legs. If you liked what we did in the beginning with the low back, you can press down through the feet, lift the hips, smooth the skin of the hips towards the heels, and then extend your legs over the bolster. Maybe putting that blanket on top. You can also take your fingertips to the back of the head, lift the head, tuck the chin, and lower the head back down. Let's start with the backs of the upper arms and the elbows on the floor again, letting the fingertips rest on the chest or belly or just the sides of the torso so you can feel the movement of your breath. You can close the eyes down or soften the gaze. And to get settled in, let's do some straw breathing. So to do this, you'll inhale through the nose, and then on the exhale, you purse the lips together like you're blowing out through a straw. And then let the exhale be long and slow and complete, exhaling all the air out. And then allowing the next inhale to arise naturally. So this is a technique that you can use to help slow down and lengthen the exhale, which can often be down-regulating for the nervous system. And with each exhale, this is your cue and an opportunity to allow yourself to soften any amount more towards the floor, towards the support you have beneath you. Let's do one more straw breath if you're following along and doing that. And then let that go. Let's take another minute or so here. I'll bring you out with 3 sounds of the bell. But allowing your natural breath in each exhale to let the body release even a fraction more. Taking your own time, let's bring some small movements back into the body. Option to start out at the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. Making your way towards any larger movements that feel like a yes. To wake the body back up. Opening your eyes if they were closed, or lifting your gaze. Visually reconnecting and reorienting to your space. Eventually making your way onto one side. Take at least one full breath there. Before pressing your way up to a comfortable seat. And if you'd like to join me to close out our time together, you can take one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. May I greet my body with gentleness. May I soften when life invites me to harden. May I listen to my intuition with wisdom and trust it with ease. And may I appreciate my body a little more in this moment, just as it is. And then we can bring the hands together in front of the heart. Let's take one breath together. We'll inhale and exhale. Thank you all so much for choosing to share your time and your practice with me today.